tax increase do you think Illinoisans can tolerate with the economy tanking the way it is?
You have to ask the sponsor of the bill.
Well, what's your opinion? I mean,
See, the states must run balanced budget, unlike the federal government. That's why at the federal level they can talk about giving the economic stimulus package to spend money that the federal government really does not have. They just run the debt up even further. So when you ask what can people pay, I don't know. Okay, what can they afford? I really don't know the answer to that. I'll find out when we have our meetings and see where the members are on that issue.
If lawmakers are on board the state income tax, but the governor is not, can this be done without the governor?
If enough votes are there.
Do you think there could be enough votes on this one?
I have no thoughts.
If you were given the state of the state right now, what would you say in a word or two, or to the people of Illinois, what is the state of the state in your opinion?
Well, the impact of what's happening national is impacting our state economy, especially as it relates to sales tax and revenue. And so the governor's proposal is an attempt to jumpstart the economy here in the state of Illinois. He wants to do it without raising taxes on individuals. But there have been studies, there have been polling done that people are saying we are willing to pay more income taxes for services. So we'll see where all that goes. Sometime in government, one has to be willing to not roll the dice, but one has to be willing to stand up for what they believe in. And I believe in the governor's message, he hit on one key point. The billions of dollars that we are spending in Iraq, a lot of those dollars are going to build the infrastructure, build schools, and build hospitals, and the federal government does not have the money. So they're going further in debt to do it. So we in Illinois, we should do the same thing in Illinois to build better schools for our children, to help repair the roads and the bridges and things of that nature. So it sounds good to people that they're doing all this. When they talk about giving a tax cut at the federal level, the federal government does not have the money. All they're doing is just increasing the debt. We in state government cannot do it that way. So I'll see what my members have to say over the next few weeks. I know exactly where we are once we go over the document.
Representative, what's the attitude within your caucus of working with the governor this year? There was such acrimony last year.
Well, certainly none of us want to be here until late August, as we were. None of us wish to set another record this year in terms of how many days we spend in Springfield. But we also want to be honest with the public. And I think, the budget here that he presented is not honest with the public in that it increases spending at a rate higher than our revenue projections. When you propose a budget that increases spending, given our economic state that he described, a budget that increases spending by over 5%, that's not fiscally responsible, and it does nothing to address the long-term fiscal havoc that our state is in right now. We have the largest unfunded liability in our pensions. He proposes no solution for that. We have over $2 billion in unpaid bills sitting in the comptroller's office. He proposes no solutions for that. So, there are a lot of details left unattended to by the speech and by the budget.
The governor did have a pension proposal in the capital budget. He wants to have another pension bond as they did in 2003.
But you don't borrow yourself out of debt. This is the governor's MO, and it's one that I don't agree with. He proposed a $5 billion pension obligation bond and passed it under his first term as governor, and we went from 49th to 50th in our unfunded liability. Selling $16 billion more in debt does nothing to get you out of debt. So he has not offered any real solution on how we're going to generate the revenue to get us out of debt, other than to do more borrowing.
Where are you on the concept of partial sale of the lottery?
I have not seen generally speaking, I don't think it's smart to sell an asset for short-term gain, which is really long-term pain. We get revenue every year from the sale of the lottery, and this proposal that I've seen so far would cap that growth for generations to come. It assumes the revenue would remain neutral from now until infinity, and that's really shortchanging school children in the next generation.
As I was going to say, the governor asked, he said, all of you are wanting to pass a capital budget, so why don't you do it? What is your answer as far as why a capital budget hasn't been passed and what needs to be done to pass one?
Well, look, no one in this chamber has had a problem spending money. The Senate, the House, the governor, of course everybody wants a capital budget. They all have a Christmas list of projects they want funded. The problem is, how are you going to pay for it? And so while he's quick to say he'll sign a capital budget, he also doesn't mention the fact that he won't raise taxes, he won't raise fees, he won't raise the revenue sources necessary to pay for the bonds. So to suggest that he's willing to sign a capital budget that would require the sale of bonds, but he's not willing to sign a budget or a bill that would raise the revenue necessary to pay those bonds is really irresponsible. So, I think it's just more of the same of double talk from the governor on offering a real solution that we can vote on down here. Every year he's rolled out a jobs program. Every year that jobs program has detailed, even in my district, projects that would be funded that get my constituents very excited. But what he has yet to offer is a solution on how to pay for it. And I think we need to look seriously at some kind of fee structure like Governor Ryan did with Illinois First.
Well, I think the governor's speech was mercifully short and succinct. I think the most important mission we have is jobs in Illinois, the economy. A long time ago, Harry Truman, president of our country, said the most sensitive nerve in the body is the pocketbook nerve. And I think everybody in state government should focus on reducing the cost of living for everyday people and making sure they have a good job. And if they have a house, we don't want them foreclosed upon. So that's my agenda.
Do you think that there are details that were not given that needed to be given?
Well, there's obviously other time for details. I think it's important to give tax relief to the people who need it the most, working families who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are having to deal with high gasoline bills and health care bills and utility bills. So I'm for focused tax relief. I've been for that a long, long time, and I think this is the time to do it.
Lieutenant Governor, what about the rebate? Do you think that's something the state should be doing? The feds can incur debt to give a rebate. What about the state? What has to balance its budget?
I think we should do everything we can to help everyday families who are living from paycheck to paycheck. And I think trying to match the federal rebate is a good idea to stimulate our economy if you focus it on families who are really needing the help. I don't think we need to give tax relief to big corporations or big shots. We really ought to focus it on the heart and soul of Illinois, moms and dads raising kids and struggling to make ends meet.
So you don't like a 20% cut for businesses?
Well, I want to make sure that that has something to do with creating jobs and keeping jobs. Just giving away tax breaks to big businesses with lobbyists, I'm dubious of that. I think it's better to focus the tax relief on consumers. John Kennedy, president of our country, when I was growing up, said a rising tide lifts all boats. He didn't say lifts all yachts. He said boats. Everyday people have rowboats and tugboats, and so we ought to focus on helping them, not the big guys.